Hello, hello, hello. So, you see the title, so let's get into it, okay? Who is like Trump in history and what happened to them, okay? So, historians and political scientists often point a, to a few key figures from the past when looking for parallels to Donald Trump. So I'm not the first person to think about this, right? Depending on whether you focus on his populism, his business background, or his personal style, different names come up. Number one is the USA's seventh president, Andrew Jackson. Okay, this is the comparison Donald Trump himself often embraced in the past, even hanging Jackson's portrait in the Oval Office. What is the similarities? Jackson was a populist hero who railed against the corrupt Washington elite. Like Trump, he was seen as a disruptive outsider, though a war hero, whereas Trump is not. Okay, he spoke, Andrew Jackson, the perception is that he spoke directly to the common man. He was famously hot tempered and frequently feuded with the press, the courts, and his own cabinet. What happened to Andrew Jackson? Well, he served 2 full terms. While he was incredibly popular with his base, his presidency is now heavily criticized for the Trail of Tears, the forced removal of Native Americans. He retired to his estate, the Hermitage, and died of natural causes at the age of 78. Okay. Number 2, Silvio Berlusconi, Italy, former prime minister. Berlusconi is perhaps the most frequent international comparison. He was a billionaire media tycoon who entered politics claiming that as a successful businessman, he was the only one who could fix the country. He used his own media outlets to bypass traditional journalism and was known for a playboy lifestyle and crude language. What happened to him? Well, he dominated Italian politics for 2 decades, but faced dozens of legal trials for tax fraud, bribery, and sex scandals. He was eventually convicted of tax fraud, which led to a temporary ban from public office. He made several political comebacks before passing away in 2023 at the age of 86. Huey Long, the governor and senator of the great state of Louisiana. Known as the Kingfish, Long was a Depression-era populist. He used fiery rhetoric to attack the rich and powerful and promised to share our wealth. He was famous for a man of the people persona despite living a lavish lifestyle. He took a very confrontational approach to political institutions, often ignoring traditional rules to get his way. What happened to him? He was planning a run for the presidency against FDR, but he was assassinated in the Louisiana state capitol in 1935 at the age of 42. It's scandalous, ain't it? George Wallace, the USA governor of the great state of Alabama. Wallace is often cited for his campaign style. He ran for president multiple times, both as a Democrat and a third-party candidate, using grievance-based politics. He famously attacked pointed-headed intellectuals and the liberal media. And he drew huge, raucous crowds with a tell-it-like-it-is style that appealed to people who felt left behind by cultural shifts. Well, what happened to great George Wallace? Well, during his 1972 campaign, he was shot in an assassination attempt. How about that? This assassination attempt left him paralyzed from the waist down. In his later years, he publicly renounced his previous segregationist views and sought forgiveness from black leaders before dying in 1998. So here is the comparisons, okay? Andrew Jackson, anti-elite populism, aggressive style. He served 2 terms with a mixed historical legacy. Silvio Berlusconi, business tycoon, media mastery, legal battles, years of legal trouble. He died in 2023. Huey Long, share our wealth populist, rule breaker, assassinated before a presidential bid. George Wallace, resentment politics, attacking the media, paralyzed from an assassination, a shooting, later apologized for past views. Historians generally agree that while these figures share traits with Trump, his combination of celebrity status, and that's not celebrity, that is reality TV. Let's make that distinction. Business background, which is a plethora of bankruptcies, court filings, lawsuits, discrimination, all of that. And social media usage, which is unprecedented. This has never happened before. Makes him a unique figure in modern history that there has been nobody like Donald Trump ever in the history of the world that we know of. Absolutely nobody. He is the one, okay? It is a common feeling that we are living through something entirely unprecedented. While every historical figure is unique, many historians argue that what feels like new mistakes are actually patterns that have played out before. This is what I'm trying to find out from the very beginning, okay? If you look at the specific traits that define Trump, his outsider status, his business-first mindset, and his frequent clashes with established institutions, there are historical figures who walked very similar paths and dealt with similar fallout, okay? Okay, so the mistakes of Silvio of Italy. He frequently made crude jokes, insulted world leaders, and spent much of his time in office fighting off legal investigations, okay? He didn't lose his base because of his mistakes. Instead, his supporters saw the legal attacks as persecution by the elites. He was eventually ousted not by a single mistake, but by a massive debt crisis in Italy. Even after being convicted of tax fraud, he remained a powerful kingmaker until his death in 2023. The outsider, this is Andrew Johnson. USA. After Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson became president. He is often cited as one of the most accidental and combative presidents in history. His mistakes: he had a my way or the highway attitude and routinely insulted Congress, calling them traitors. He ignored the political norms of his time and tried to govern by firing anyone who disagreed with him. I'm just saying, I had to ask these questions, okay? What happened? His refusal to compromise and his constant public outbursts led to him to become the first U.S. president ever impeached. Andrew Johnson was the first president that was ever kicked out of office. He survived removal by just one vote, but he lost all his power and was essentially a lame duck for the rest of his term, okay? Which is what should be happening to Trump. This is his second term. He should be a lame duck. He should not be able to carry out all of these things that he is doing, and it is a failure of Congress and the Senate. Okay. The economist populist Juan Perón of Argentina. Many historians compare Trump's America First and trade policies with Perón. The mistakes. Perón governed through a cult of personality and frequently attacked the press and the oligarchy, which that's what Trump is doing, but he is with the tech bros, right? The IT giants. Okay. Meanwhile, Juan Perón made massive economic gambles like high tariffs and nationalizing industries that critics called huge mistakes, but his followers loved them. Okay. Tariffs, high tariffs, and nationalizing industries. Okay. What happened? He was eventually overthrown in a military coup in 1955 and lived in exile for 18 years. However, his movement remained so popular that he was actually voted back into power in 1973, showing that even mistakes that damage an economy don't always destroy a leader's political survival. Why it feels like there's never been a person like Trump. While these men existed, there are 3 reasons why Trump feels uniquely error-prone compared to history. The information vacuum. In the past, if Andrew Jackson or Andrew Johnson made a mistake in 2 weeks, it took weeks for the news to travel. Today, every tweet or comment is analyzed instantly by the entire world. Every tweet that Trump does is analyzed immediately. The feature, not a bug strategy. Many of what critics call mistakes are viewed by his supporters as intentional disruptions. This makes him hard to categorize because he doesn't apologize for things that would have ended a traditional politician's career. Okay, the celebrity factor. Most historical populists were soldiers or career politicians. Trump is the first to come from the world of reality TV and branding, which creates a different kind of relationship with the public. Also, he has supporters. Vladimir Putin for his first term, who used bots to get him in, and then the second time it was Elon Musk, who made himself a president, put himself in the government with the Doge, fired all of these government employees, and Congress and the Senate did not a zilch, nothing. Unprecedented. In short, history shows that leaders who break the rules often face intense legal and political backlash, but as long as they maintain a loyal base, they are surprisingly difficult to remove from the history books. So, does his base still support him? Louisville, okay. As of today, Donald Trump's support among his base is showing signs of fraying. Though it remains generally positive within the Republican Party, while his core MAGA supporters are still staunchly behind him, broader Republican and independent support has declined steadily during his second term. Overall approval as of today has slipped between 37% to 40%, down roughly 47% at the start of his term. Approval among Republicans currently sits at 73%, a slight decline since late 2025. MAGA versus non-MAGA, this is a growing divide. 74% of MAGA Republicans strongly support him, while only 47% of non-MAGA Republicans express the same confidence. Demographic shifts. Support has seen significant drops among groups that moved toward him in 2024, including Hispanics with a 35% approval, young adults 28% approval, and independents 27% approval. Factors impacting his support. Recent polling highlights several areas where even his base is growing uneasy. Economy and inflation. Discontent has deepened regarding his handling of kitchen table issues like high prices, with only 30% approval for his handling of inflation. Ethics and foreign policy. Confidence in Trump to act ethically has dropped to 42% among Republicans. Additionally, confidence in his ability to use military force wisely has declined by 11 points over the last year, largely due to concerns over the ongoing war with Iran. Reliability. The share of Americans who believes he keeps his promises has fallen to 38%, down from 51% shortly after his 2024 election. Despite these declines, Trump continues to hold significant influence over the Republican Party, with many Trump-backed candidates winning primaries as the 2026 midterms approach. Okay, so let's go here. By race and income, who is supporting Trump at this time? This is the last question because I got to get out of here. But y'all can leave comments below. If you want to know more things or whatever, I'll make another video to answer your questions, just like I did this one, okay? As of May 2026, support for Donald Trump varies significantly across racial and income-related demographics, with clear signs of erosion in groups that were previously cornerstones of his coalition. Trump's strongest base remains white Americans, though his favorability has declined across all racial groups since late 2025, okay? Approximately 45% hold favorable views of Trump in white households. However, a notable shift has occurred among white Americans without college degrees. Now, this is important, okay? A key blue-collar demographic. They used to be all in for MAGA. This group now has a net job approval of -4%, a massive swing from plus 28% net approval he held with them at the start of his second term. Hispanic Americans' favorability has dropped to 24%, -25%, returning to levels not seen since 2021. Specifically, Hispanic Protestants saw a sharp decline from 48% favorability to 37%. Black Americans consistently with the lowest favorability, currently standing at 15%. 15% of Black Americans support Trump, okay? And I even doubt that, okay? I don't believe it. Support for socioeconomic factors, income and education, okay? While polling often uses education as a proxy for income in blue-collar contexts, current data shows a deepening divide based on both financial outlook and religious attendance. Working-class non-college voters, while still a core pillar, this group's support is no longer guaranteed. As mentioned, non-college educated white voters have moved into net disapproval territory, okay? Middle to upper income voters with a 4-year degree or higher are significantly more likely to view Trump unfavorably compared to those who view him favorably. So 44% of the educated middle class do not support Trump, right? Which means that 66% do. I'm flipping it. Okay, don't play with me. Okay, cost of living concerns. Support is heavily tied to economic perception. Only 25% of Americans approve of his handling of inflation and rising prices. Among younger voters who are often in lower income brackets, 84% cite the cost of living as their most important voting issue, and this group overwhelmingly disapproves of his performance. The religiosity variable. Income and race are currently being moderated by religious habits. For example, a college-educated white American who attends religious services is far more likely to support Trump at 49% than a non-college educated white American who never attends services, 28%. So it's based on the hippies and the artists versus the doctors and the lawyers. And again, this is Trump's base, and I don't know what's going to happen. But the bottom line is, this is all nothing new. We've had people like him before, domestically and internationally, and the world keeps on turning, the sun keeps on shining, and this too shall pass. Keep doing what you do, honey. Keep doing what you do. Let's see. He came in 2024. It is now 2026, so we've got 2 more years to go, and then that is it. Unless he passes away, in which case J.D. Vance will become president and serve out the remainder of Trump's term, and then run for election as president, okay, at the end of that term. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.